So today I will be discussing Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Fair warning, I won't be covering the story in great detail. Instead, I'm going to spend the majority of the video explaining why this particular chapter in the franchise is so hit or miss. To explain, I first need to give a brief overlook at what the survival horror genre is in a nutshell. Wikipedia defines survival horror as, the player character is vulnerable and underarmed, which puts emphasis on puzzle solving and evasion, rather than the player taking on offensive strategy. To better detail what it means, imagine being at an intersection. You can either go left or go right. Right leads to the next part of the game, growing ever closer to its finale, but you can never return. You have no ammo for your gun and limited health. If you go left, you may find ammo or even health kits, but no guarantee of both or even how much. On this path, you can return at any time, but almost guarantees you will be in constant danger of losing more health, if not your life. It is an ever-present struggle for survival. You may be low on health, but will you survive long enough to acquire more? You may have limited ammo, but will it get you through the next stage? And if you do go searching for more, how much more ammo will you waste searching for scraps of bullets? Will you come out on top, even, or with less than you started? This game drops that element in place for, as it's been referred to, a running simulator. In this instance, there is no ability to fight back and no ability to heal yourself, so no need to gather resources. So exploration beyond the game's basic mechanics is rather pointless. All you can do is run away to escape your enemies, and if you know where you're going, there is even less danger as you can run straight to your next destination. The only real present danger is navigating these chase sequences when the entire map is a maze. There is never a reason to hoard or manage resources because they don't exist in the game. Now that we've covered gameplay, let's discuss the narrative. This is a complete reimagining of the first game, and although it shares some elements to the original canon, this ends at the town of Silent Hill and the primary characters surrounding the first installment. You're treated to a first-person perspective in a psychologist's office, answering various questions about mental health, divorce, emotion, and more, along with participating in Rorschach tests and other therapy-related tools. Afterwards, you're left to explore the town of Silent Hill, attempting to discover what happened after the infamous car accident that made Cheryl disappear like a David Blaine illusion. Eventually, you'll reach a certain point in the story where the world will freeze over and you'll be pursued by multiple monsters. After you navigate out of this sequence, you'll be returned to the psychologist's office to rinse and repeat. I personally don't have a problem with psychological horror, but when you're replacing an already canonical timeline with a phenomenal cast of characters and a critical game element to completely reinvent what the game is known and loved for, I think it's a bad look. For all my Resident Evil fans out there, you know who you are. It's as if when they remake 4, they tell the story of Leon Kennedy, who suffered from mental instability after the events in Raccoon City, where he spent the entire third game in a padded cell, playing the hero in his own story. And during the events of 4, he traveled to Spain entirely of his own volition and decided that a group of villagers suffering from a local illness were actually infected with parasites before kidnapping the president's daughter. But in reality, he's just murdering innocents without provocation and the president doesn't actually have a daughter. Now do you see what I mean? Climax had decided to scrap the name Silent Hill and rename all the characters. This could have been an absolute banger, but unfortunately we're left with a confusing, tragic, and gripping story. But just an insult to the franchise. Throughout the game, as you progress with your therapy sessions, you will be presented with tests and questions you must answer. These answers will change dialogue, location, personality traits, and even appearances of characters. This won't affect gameplay mechanics or the outcome, but it will change the type of ending you receive. This may be the only video in which I discuss a bit about the various endings. At this point, if you aren't a fan of spoilers, I do recommend that you skip ahead to this time. Okay, if you're fine with spoilers or you have already played the game but feel the need to hear me recount it, let's begin. The game begins with a car accident which sees Harry finding Cheryl missing from the back seat. Throughout the game, you will be introduced to new and returning characters. You will be constantly introduced to new story developments that will leave you confused and wondering who or what you can trust, if anyone or anything. Every so often, you will be returned to the psychologist, Dr. Michael Kaufman, as he analyzes you and asks questions to build a character profile. This profile will determine certain factors to the game, such as changing Harry's appearance, his dialogue, or even locations within the game. This is why I have chosen not to read through the timeline from start to finish. There is no right or wrong answer for this game, since none of it is canonical, and depending on your psychological profile, it will change the story to match. Harry will explore, discover clues, and plot twists that will lead him closer to discovering what happened to Cheryl. When we reach the climax of the game, Harry is instructed to enter a lighthouse where all of his questions will be answered. Here, Harry will find the door leading to the truth, and as we enter, we flip the perspectives back to the therapist's office. Here, Harry will enter and we are finally introduced to the plot twist. This entire time, it would be easy to assume that our time spent in therapy was with Harry coping with the loss of Cheryl. But as it turns out, it was Cheryl coping with the loss of Harry. This moment is very powerful and impactful, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like it didn't need to involve Silent Hill. This could have been a great story entirely on its own. It's like taking iconic GTA characters and sticking them into a Lifetime drama where they don't belong. Actually, seeing Trevor as a reoccurring character in Days of Our Lives would be pretty baller, and I might actually be inclined to watch that. Based on your psychological profile, you will be presented with 2 different endings on 2 different scales. One will present itself in the form of how Cheryl copes with the therapy session and loss of her father. The second will drastically change the title screen's home movie in 4 different ways, giving us a sense of what type of father and husband Harry really was before his passing. As a game, it was quite hit or miss for me. The story was grasping, but the game mechanics and horror element were pretty insulting. As a Silent Hill title, on the other hand, it can kiss the meatiest part of my ass. Although I don't share the same opinion as many other fans of the series, so once again, check out Nitro Rad and Grand Gaming Channel for their tales on shattered memories. And as always, I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for our last installment to date, Silent Hill Downpour.